It protects member deposits, ensures financial stability, and overall it modernizes the industry so that those member deposits are protected.
Greetings, neighbors. Welcome to another episode of the Perfect Sense podcast. I'm your host, Alex Becerra. Today, we are going to be having a fascinating conversation about the NCUA. This is an entity that helps protect credit union members. So very excited for today's conversation. I am excited to be joined by my colleague, Marina Lelko. So glad you're here, Marina. I've got to say, I very much appreciate, for a discussion like we're about to have today, the fact that you brought along some note cards. I think it's so awesome, and I really appreciate the preparation.
Well, what would I be if not a compliance person if I didn't bring some detailed notes to ensure that I hit on all my points and I'm accurate? I think my team's going to be looking at this transcript at the end of all of it, so I want to make sure they don't have any revisions.
Gotta love it.
Thank you.
So stoked to have you here. Would you mind just introducing yourself to the audience and telling them a little bit about who you are and what you do here at SAFE?
Sure. Well, I've been in the credit union industry for 25 years. 12 of those years have been in compliance. Part of what my job is to understand the laws and regulations and connect it to real member impact. Along with my team, we talk to different business units across the organization and make sure that they're confident in making decisions about laws and regulations that impact the products and services we offer our members. And it's all with the end goal of bringing our members along their financial journey.
Excellent. Well, so excited that you're here. And I speak for not just myself when I say thank you for the work that you and your team do. I know, we've been running this podcast for a long time. We're very excited to now have it in the video format. But really, since the inception of this show, your team has been an integral part in sort of helping us produce the show. So really appreciate you all for doing that. Thank you for the work that you do. And one thing I'll say is I think in many ways, compliance can sort of be looked at as this area of the organization that kind of feels invisible, like people don't necessarily see the work that you're doing. But I really appreciate that, like, just in our own working relationship, like, you're very visible. We do a lot of stuff together, whether it's like Christmas caroling around the holidays, right? Or like just being involved with our different employee resource groups and stuff. So I really just, again, appreciate you and the energy that you bring to this space, because I think your passion comes through. And today's conversation about the NCUA might be a little bit mysterious for some folks, but hopefully we can sort of peel the curtain back and explain it a little bit better.
A lot of what our role is, beyond being credit union compliance experts, is really listening to our business partners and understanding the perspective of the member and really supporting consumer protection and ensuring fairness, and that our financial products and services are available to everyone. So it's good to hear that you appreciate that support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in credit union world, it's not uncommon for there to be like many, many different acronyms that get used, both in our organization and in others as well.
Alphabet soup of things. Yes, of course.
So let's kick off this conversation. The NCUA, what is it? What function does it serve? And why was it started?
The NCUA is the National Credit Union Administration, and it's a federal agency that supervises credit unions and charters credit unions. It also administers the National Credit Union Share Insurance Fund. And what that does is it protects member deposits, ensures financial stability, and overall it modernizes the industry so that those member deposits are protected.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think for most folks in the marketplace, when it comes to like banking and finances, if they banked with a traditional bank, they've probably heard of the FDIC. Is it fair to say that the NCUA is in some ways a counterpart to the FDIC?
Yes, and when the NCUA created the Share Insurance Fund back in the 70s, the intent really was to modernize the credit union industry, similarly to how bank customers have the protection from the FDIC.
And so you mentioned like the NCUA is the Share Insurance Fund?
Yes.
Okay, so what exactly does the NCUA cover and protect?
The NCUA Share Insurance Fund protects member deposits to at least $250,000, and that includes members' interests in all other joint accounts combined. There's separate coverage for different types of retirement accounts, and there's additional coverage if you maybe have trust, whether formal or informal, depending on the number of beneficiaries that you have on there. But the best way really to understand your coverage is to visit mycreditunion.gov, and that's the NCUA's website, so that members can go there, They can use the share insurance calculators to determine their protection coverage, and they can get more information on how their accounts might be structured at different credit unions to have the most protection for their funds on deposit.
Nice. What was that website again?
It's mycreditunion.gov.
Excellent. And that's like sort of where people can go and learn more about the NCUA, what is covered, what's not covered.
Yes, when our members open accounts, they're given documentation for, of course, opening their accounts with us, and that includes information from this website so that they can understand how their funds are protected being on deposit at the credit union.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that not all credit unions are covered by the NCUA.
Well, that's true. Not all credit unions are covered by the National Share Insurance Fund. They're not federally insured. There are some state chartered credit unions that opt for private insurance. So in those cases, sometimes they offer more coverage, but it's not the federally backed coverage provided by the NCUA. But primarily, most credit unions you're going to find are protected by the National Share Credit Union Share Insurance.
So when we're talking about like insuring members' deposits, how does the NCUA benefit members?
Well, this coverage is automatic. There's nothing that the member has to do to invoke this coverage, this protection on their deposit products. And the information is really clear and predictable on what type of coverage is applied to the different types of accounts. In fact, there's legislation coming along in December that's going to even further simplify how protection applies to different types of trust accounts so that it's strictly based on the number of beneficiaries. So they really do strive at the NCUA to make it clear on how these credit unions are protecting these member deposits. And what that does, having the backing of the full faith and credit of the United States government allows people to trust their credit unions and want to use their credit unions and keep that money in the financial system regardless of what the economy might bring. They're putting their money on deposit and they're staying away from more risky ways to keep their funds around. So, stuffing cash in a mattress, right? Or operating on a cash only basis. Those things can be risky. But when you put it in your bank, when you put it in your credit union or your bank, you can rest assured that it is protected by the federal insurance.
Are there any like particular scenarios or instances where a member may need to like rely on the coverage that's offered to them through the NCUA?
That's a great question. To date, there has never been a single penny lost of members' deposits from a federally insured credit union. In the event that there was some circumstance where credit union was in trouble, the NCUA that supervises the credit unions would intervene and ensure that those member funds are protected before they were lost.
Got it. So when people are sort of deciding where they may want to keep their deposits, whether it's a bank or a credit union, it's fair to say that the NCUA really sort of, I would say, like strengthens their peace of mind as when they make that decision.
Absolutely. And you'll know that your credit union is federally insured when you enter into a branch where deposits are accepted. You'll see different signage there indicating what the coverage amounts are. Additionally, in any type of member facing communications or advertisements, you'll see similar language. So that's how you'll know that your credit union is protected by the National Credit Union Share Insurance Fund. Again, there are some state chartered credit unions that are privately insured. Safe Credit Union is federally insured.
Yeah. And folks will also hear it. I think if they stay long enough to listen to the podcast episode, they'll hear it in our disclaimer as well and in our show notes and on the YouTube description. So it's very transparent, I think. If you're with a credit union that is protected by the NCUA, it's not hard to find that information.
Correct.
So I think for many folks that are tuning into this conversation, this sort of can be an area that's a little bit mysterious to them. And so like when folks are thinking about the NCUA, do we find that there are any common misconceptions? And if so, what might those be?
Yes. We touched on a little bit, but one of the most common misconceptions is that credit unions are less safe than banks. And that's just not true. We talked about the NCUA share insurance coverage and how it's similar to the FDIC, really modernizing the credit union industry and giving members that peace of mind for those deposits that are put into the credit union system. Another common misconception is that credit union insurance coverage is only the $250,000, and that's just not true. The share insurance coverage can go beyond the $250,000 at your particular credit union. If you have maybe a joint account and it's set up differently, if you have a trust account and several beneficiaries, there's just different ways that you can have your funds in a credit union and increase your insured amount. Some people might also have the misunderstanding that everything they get at their credit union is insured. You walk in the building, you're wondering, is everything, all the products and services that I might get through my credit union insured? And they're not. The products and services that are covered for the share insurance are deposit products. So that's your savings, your checking, your money market, your certificates, and separately your IRAs. What's not covered are going to be your investment products. So that's going to be your stocks, bonds, annuities, municipal securities. Those are not covered. And your safe deposit box contents are not insured by the NCUA. And lastly, this is a new area, but cryptocurrency is not covered by the NCUA insurance.
Thank you for going over those common misconceptions. And actually, one that we touched on earlier, maybe you can confirm, is that not all credit unions are federally insured by NCUA, correct?
Correct. There are some state chartered credit unions that opt for private insurance. In some of those cases, they have a little more coverage, but they're not backed by the faith and credit of the government protection that is instilled by the NCUA.
Okay, very good to know. And so SAFE has, a very long history. We've got 85 plus years of serving our members, of investing in our local communities. And I'm curious to know, like, outside of the protection that folks get from their NCUA insurance, are there other things that SAFE is doing to help protect its members?
Ah, yes. So we have a dedicated team to fraud monitoring and prevention. So if there's any type of activity on your account that looks suspicious or any emerging threats that is recognized in our systems, then our members will be contacted and they'll have to confirm whether the transaction was theirs or not, and really just make sure that they're being protected when they're using their accounts with us. There are also some card security controls that we have in place. Using our online banking or mobile deposit, members can turn their cards on or off, say if they've lost a card, and that helps mitigate some of the loss that they might otherwise incur if their card was in the wrong hands. I also want to kind of brag a little bit about our financial education team. They really spend a lot of time in our community and educating people about the different types of fraud or scams or things that could be going on in the community that are just putting our members at risk. And the work they do, along with different teams to put out our social media posts that come up with different ideas to really hit different audiences to make sure we get the word out and people know how to protect themselves. I think that's another a good thing that I appreciate being part of this organization.
Yeah, I like how you illustrate that because I tell people all the time, right? Like, I work in banking. I don't necessarily feel like a banker, but I do feel like people should be kind of expecting more from their financial institutions. Like, what has your financial institution done for you lately? And I like how you illustrate that, across the organization, there's sort of this holistic approach to member protection because it's so important. So whether it is through the education pieces or the actual tools that people can take advantage of, that's actually one thing that's made me really proud as a SAFE employee over the last decade or so, is just how, from my perspective, SAFE continues to evolve, continues to invest in like digital tools
Yes.
and resources. And I think that, again, is one thing that sort of just illustrates like our commitment to, yes, we might be your financial institution, but we want to do things that are above and beyond your
Yes.
expectations.
Everything goes back to the member. Like, we would not exist without our members. And for that, I'm incredibly thankful that it's just their commitment to being a part of the credit union, to bring their deposits here, that we can, federally protect with the NCUA insurance coverage. I'm just really grateful for the members and bringing our credit union together, making it the financial cooperative that it is.
Nice. All right. So before we jump into our lightning round of questions, are there any final thoughts you want to share with our listeners?
No, no, I don't think so. There's nothing else to share. That was kind of a lot, but no, I really enjoy sharing some information, and I'm ready for the lightning round.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So I do this with all of my guests. I've got 2 questions. Please be as candid as you want. The first one is there a particular financial goal that you or your family are currently working towards?
Hmm. Yes, but we recently attained the goal.
Nice.
So yes, my husband and I were working on uh, getting a new vehicle. He currently has a vehicle that is not great on gas. His daily driver was a Jeep Wrangler, and it was our goal to kind of get that paid off and get him in a new vehicle that is more fuel efficient. And we also wanted a vehicle that had a third row so we could bring along others with us and, car rides. So we recently got a new car loan here at Safe. And so that goal was attained very recently. He loves his new daily driver, and he's driving really cautiously to just keep that what is that, the average gas that he's using, the miles per gallon that he's getting. He's like, oh my gosh, I got such great miles per gallon. I'm like, oh my god, please drive faster.
Yeah.
But no, so that was a recent goal that we attained, and we were working towards it for quite some time. So I'm proud to say that we attained it, and through partnership with Safe, we were able to get the right loan for us. And
All
yes,
right.
so yeah.
I love that success story. It's funny now with the technology of like how closely you can monitor your fuel economy.
Yes.
And the third row is a game changer. Like we've got two little kids at our house as well. And once we got that third row, it's like, oh, your cousin can come with us now to do things. And like, it's just such a game changer. So I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then the second question is, we love to spotlight some local small businesses. So I am curious, is there any local small businesses or restaurants or cafes that you want to shout out while you're here?
There are so many great places that start in Sacramento area and surrounding areas. But I have to say right here in Folsom, in the heart of Folsom, in Old Folsom, they call it, I really like Karen's Bakery.
Yes.
And they have the most amazing avocado toast. I mean, their pastries are great, their bread is great, but I go for this avocado toast, and it is so delicious. And I tell you, after a morning of kayaking out on the lake, just stopping in Karen's and getting a little bit of brunch avocado toast, there's nothing like it. So shout out to Karen's Bakery.
Shout out to Karen's Bakery. I am very familiar. That whole Old Folsom Strip is just full of great businesses, and it's so community forward. So I love that shout out. Marina, thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this conversation. And I really hope that we can welcome you back sometime in the future.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
If you'd like to learn more about Safe products and services and how we can help you, visit our website at safecu.org and schedule an appointment with one of our professional experts today. Safe is federally insured by NCUA and is an equal housing opportunity lender. The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform on topics surrounding financial well-being. This podcast does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice and may not apply to your individual situation. You should consult with your own financial, tax, or legal advisor for specific information pertaining to your individual situation. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the participants expressing them and do not necessarily reflect those of Safe Credit Union or any of its officials.